Kevin's log, Ourdate, 07/11/2026. We had a hell of a storm roll through here yesterday morning. Took out the power. So we didn't have any power for probably... It came back on last night about 1 o'clock, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So we probably would have been fine without having to do anything, but gave me a chance to play with the solar backup stuff that I have, which that battery, for some reason, was probably doing way better than I thought it was. I decided to get up first thing in the morning, make Dawn some coffee, and as soon as I flipped the inverter on, waiting for the coffee to do something, and I didn't hear it boiling or anything. Well, that's weird. So I went and checked, and my breaker was popped. And I thought, well, shit, I never did reset the breaker. So, because I usually shut it off when I'm not using it, because, well, you don't need power going to it. But so I flipped the breaker back on, and probably a minute later, it popped again. Okay, so I didn't shut it off. For some reason, it's popping a 150 amp breaker on my inverter. Red flags. Okay, maybe my battery's just so low that it's drawing a ton of current just to make it work at all. So I said screw it and made a pot of coffee over the fire. Just started a fire and made it over the fire. And was just running the lights and stuff with the inverter, or with the 12 volts, because most of the lights in the cabin are 12 volts now. So then I plugged the fridge in. Okay, worked fine. Worked fine for a while, and I was like, the deep freeze, it's probably going to be fine, but just to make sure that it doesn't, I don't have to worry about it. Because I opened it up and checked, and it was like, a couple things on top are getting a little soft. So I went ahead and plugged in the deep freeze. Disconnected the fridge for a while and plugged in the deep freeze. And after about a couple of minutes, popped the breaker again. With a completely different battery on it. I took the battery that was out here, which is identical to that one. I bought them at the same time. And put it in there. These batteries are over 100 pounds. That sucks. But I got it in there. And then I also was trying that little deep cycle battery that I have laying around that I use for emergencies. Stuck it in there. Kept popping the breaker. And I was like, okay, fine. It is one of those cheap ass car audio 150 amp Raptor breakers. It's quite possible that thing's just a piece of crap. Came in here, dug through everything. I had an old waterproof, spark-proof 80 amp breaker. Put it on it. It ran the fridge and the deep freeze for the entire rest of the day. About 8 hours. So it wasn't the batteries after all. It was just that cheap-ass circuit breaker. And to think how many of those I put on people's cars over the years. It doesn't leave me with a good feeling in the pit of my stomach. But anyway, that is neither here nor there. Now I got to try to find... Oh, here it is right here. Cool. So tomorrow I should be getting a part in. Well, tomorrow's Sunday. It ain't coming in tomorrow. I had to make sure I have this so I can re-weld it. Oops, I'm not even showing anybody anything, am I? I gotta weld that back onto my mower deck. No, here it is. Which I might cheat and just use this to line this up and just weld this right here onto the mower deck, and then I just won't have to worry about it again. And then I can mow, because this grass is getting crazy. Just it's only been a week. Look at that over there, over by the greenhouse. Oh yeah, the greenhouse blew down. Yeah. Storm. Fun times. All this blew over. I need to get that to Kenny's house. Get it out of the way. But yeah, I got, look at how tall this grass is getting. I got that mowed over there and made one swipe that direction when everything said, yeah, we're not going to work anymore for you. And one of the problems we have when we lose power for any length of time, we're on a well. So of course, now we have no water. So that's what we got that for. So we could have a backup water. And I haven't even attempted to get that thing figured out yet. So she told me, as soon as the power comes on, you fill that thing with water. And I'm like, I don't have anywhere to put it. I'm not going to fill it full of water and not be able to move it, and we're not going to use it until blah, blah, blah. So I got to figure that out. And it's kind of hard to move anything around when this is the only thing I've got to move stuff around with. Bunch of other stuff. I mean, a bunch of other stuff. I've been messing with the solar panels. They're temporary. They're just through. But I threw a bunch up here. We were testing Cruz's solar panels, and I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter, because he bought a bunch of 300 watt, 12 volt solar panels, 4 of them, and the best we got out of them in intense sunlight and very well aimed at the sun. I think one of them hit 80. They're supposed to be 300 apiece. And it just kind of bounced off 80 and went right back down to about 69. And that's where it sat, between 67 and 70. And occasionally it would spike up towards 80, but just for a second and just go right back down. So yeah, it matters when you get cheap panels. He spent pretty decent amount of money for them too, because I got my watt meter out that I just got in, and I made up a set of Y cables because I was going to hook them up together and see what they would do. And you know what? I hooked them up together. They didn't seem to do a hell of a lot better together than they did apart. So either my Y cables are crap, or something else was going on. Don't know what. Haven't really had time to spend a lot of time testing them. But I think he's going to try to send them back anyway, so it doesn't matter. 70 watts out of a 300 watt panel in about optimum conditions. My Harbor Freight 100 watt panel was doing over 80 watts. So yeah, at the same time, sitting right next to it. So anyway, enough of that crap. We haven't set the paperwork in yet for the XS650. It's kind of daunting. It's going to be a long procedure. So that's just going to take a while. So it's kind of, I haven't done anything with it. I don't know if I mentioned I had to swap out motors on my splitter. That was fun. Good times. And I'm getting these glasses all taken out of here, putting them in the house so I can clear this table off again. That's an ongoing thing. When the greenhouse came down, I reclaimed a couple of my 1x6s, or no, 5/4 by 6s, or 5/4. Yeah, that's what they're called, 5/4. So that's a thing. But I haven't done a hell of a lot. Honestly, I was in kind of emergency mode yesterday, just trying to see if I could get the maximum amount of power out of the silly little systems that I have, and running around like an idiot wore me out. Moving those batteries wore me out. I'm gonna have to find a, what am I gonna have to do? I'm gonna have to think about that is what I'm gonna have to do, because I wanted to have a central location for the batteries, even if I have separate systems. But that means I gotta run gargantuan wires longer than I would like to. I don't want to do that. I'd rather spend most of the time. Look at those little guys. Apparently I've got an ant nest probably somewhere in my house or my shop. I just want to get the power to the batteries, the length of the wire from the panels can be greater than the length of the wire to the distribution point. Because once it hits the battery, it gets throttled down to 12 volts. Yeah, then it becomes kind of a I need thicker wire situation, which I don't have. And I need terminals, and I need, yeah, it's a process. I'll figure it out. Anyway, I'm going to go back in the house, and we're not running the AC because it's pretty nice outside, but I'm still sweating like a pig. So I'm going back in. I'm going to work on getting those glasses out of here. That didn't make any sense. I'm going to take some of those glasses in with me so I can wash them, so I can store them. But for the most part, I'm done working out here. Once I can get all that done, I still need to figure out why that's leaking. She did pick me up some gas, so I could go out and split some logs. I do have about 1 month supply of wood out there now out of those 2 trees I cut down earlier. And she's wanting to take this tree down, especially after that storm. Our neighbor up the street had a really big tree fall right next to her house and smash one of her trucks. So that's crazy. Plus, I guess that's what happened to the power out here, is where the power lines come in had a line of trees fall on them. So they had, I think, 5 big ass trucks come through here last night and go down there. I don't know whether they cut the trees away or they just put new lines up. I don't know what they did. What a fustercluck. Oh yeah, like I was saying, Bumbling Fool signing off.